My child, you are not forgotten. I heard the prayer you stopped speaking because you were afraid to hope for it again. I heard the question that never reached your lips because you did not know how to ask it without feeling ashamed. I heard the sigh you gave when the room was quiet and no one was there to tell you that you were doing enough. And before this message ends, I want you to understand something. The parts of your life that feel unseen have not disappeared from my sight. Stay with me for this. You have wondered whether silence means I have turned away. You have wondered whether the things you stopped mentioning became too small for me to remember. You have wondered whether a dream that has taken longer than expected has already faded beyond reach. But I do not forget the things that formed in your heart before you learned to hide them. I do not forget the hope you carried when your life was younger, simpler, and less guarded. I do not forget the prayer you made after everyone else had gone to sleep. I do not forget the part of you that wanted to be understood without having to explain every wound. You have been measuring your life by what other people notice. You have looked for proof in messages returned, doors opened, invitations offered, names remembered, and achievements recognized. When those things did not come, you began to think that you did not matter as much as you once believed. But your value was never made by a room that failed to make space for you. Your worth was never decided by a person who did not know how to see you. Your future was never erased by a season that gave you no applause. My child, I have seen the ordinary faithfulness that no one clapped for. I saw you get up when you had no confidence in the day ahead. I saw you keep a promise when it would have been easier to become careless. I saw you choose not to send the angry message. I saw you make space for someone else's grief while carrying your own. I saw you keep showing up in a place where you felt overlooked. I saw you try again after disappointment convinced you that trying was foolish. You called those things small because no one praised them. But they were not small to me. There are moments you believed were nothing more than another difficult day. Yet those moments became places where your character was forming. Not because pain is always good, and not because I wanted you to suffer, but because you kept choosing truth in the middle of what was hard. That matters. You have been afraid that the silence around you is a verdict. You have thought, if I mattered, someone would have noticed. If I were important, the answer would have come sooner. If I were loved, I would not feel this alone. But loneliness can speak with a voice that sounds certain even when it is wrong. Loneliness can tell you that you have been forgot when you are actually in a place where you are learning to hear your own heart again. Loneliness can tell you that nothing is coming when something is quietly taking root beneath the surface. Loneliness can make you mistake the absence of noise for the absence of love. I need you to hear me clearly. You are not forgotten. Not in the waiting. Not in the unfinished place. Not in the part of your story that feels slow and difficult to explain. Not in the private grief you have carried so carefully that people around you do not know how much it weighs. I know the name of the thing that hurts you. I know why certain songs make you quiet. I know why you pause before you answer when someone asks whether you are okay. I know how many times you have said, "I am fine," when you were simply trying not to make your pain another person's responsibility. I know what you have not said. And I am not asking you to perform for me now. I am asking you to come close enough to let the truth breathe. You have been carrying the burden of being understood by everyone. That burden is too heavy. Some people will not understand your story because they have only seen the surface. Some will never understand why a small thing affected you so deeply. Some will not recognize what it cost you to keep going. Do not build your identity on their inability to see. You do not need every person to validate your experience before it becomes real. You do not need the people who missed your pain to become the judges of whether it mattered. You do not need to keep presenting evidence that you are worthy of care. You are worthy of care because you are mine. There are things you have stopped asking for because you thought disappointment would be easier than hope. You have made peace with less because you did not want to risk another unanswered prayer. You have told yourself you do not need much. You have tried to become satisfied with being invisible because invisible seemed safer than wanting to be chosen. But I did not make you to disappear. I made you with a heart that longs to be known, to be loved, to be received without having to become someone else first. There is nothing weak about that longing. It is not selfish to want to be seen. It is not a failure to want someone to notice when you are tired. It is not wrong to want life to feel more meaningful than simply enduring one day after another. Do not shame yourself for needing comfort. Do not punish yourself for wanting a future that feels alive. I am not disappointed by the places where you still hope. Stay with me, because there is more beneath this than you have allowed yourself to see. You have confused being forgotten with being in a season of quiet formation. You have confused delayed recognition with lack of purpose. You have confused unanswered questions with a lack of direction. But the fact that you cannot see the whole path does not mean there is no path. The fact that your name has not been called in the room you wanted does not mean no door will ever open. The fact that you are tired does not mean you have failed. You have been carrying too much of the future at once. Come back to this moment. You are here. You are breathing. You are still capable of receiving love. You are still capable of making one honest choice. You are still allowed to begin again. I have not forgotten you, and I have not finished speaking to the places in you that have felt unseen. My child, there are prayers you have prayed without using any words at all. They came as a long breath after a difficult conversation. They came as tears you refused to name. They came when you stared at the ceiling and tried to decide whether tomorrow would feel any different. They came when you opened your phone, hoping someone had remembered you, and then put it down because no message came. They came when you stood in a room full of people and suddenly felt alone. I heard those prayers. You have thought that prayer only counts when it is clear, faithful, and beautifully spoken. You have thought you must know exactly what to ask before you can come to me. But I know what your heart is trying to say when you have no language left. I understand the grief beneath your silence. I understand the frustration beneath the words, "It is okay." I understand the longing beneath the way you keep telling people that you do not need anything. I understand the fear beneath the plans you make late at night, so you can feel less exposed to the future. You do not have to make your heart sound impressive before I listen. You do not have to turn your pain into a lesson before it deserves compassion. You do not have to be calm before you are allowed to come close. Stay with me, because I want to remove a burden you have been placing on yourself. You have been trying to interpret every quiet season as a message about your worth. When an answer takes time, you ask what is wrong with you. When a person does not respond, you ask what you did wrong. When a door closes, you ask whether you missed the only chance you had. But not every absence is a judgment. Not every delay is punishment. Not every closed door is evidence that you are unwanted. Sometimes you are standing before a silence that has nothing to do with your value. Sometimes people are limited in ways you cannot repair. Sometimes timing is not yet clear. Sometimes a chapter closes because it cannot hold the life that is trying to grow in you. You have been carrying responsibility for things that were never yours to control. You have been revisiting old conversations, trying to find the sentence that would have made someone understand. You have been imagining different versions of the past, believing that one better decision would have protected you from every loss. You have been asking your younger self to have known what only time could teach. My child, let yourself be human. You did not know then what you know now. You may have tried your best with a tired heart and incomplete information. You may have made mistakes. You may have stayed too long. You may have hoped for something that could not become what you needed. But none of that makes you forgotten. None of that makes you unworthy of a new beginning. Do not turn your past into a courtroom where you are both the accused and the judge. Bring it to me instead. Let the story be true without allowing it to become cruel. You can say, that hurt me. You can say, I did not know how to protect myself then. You can say, I wish it had been different. You can say, I am learning. That is not weakness. That is honesty. There is a difference between holding a memory and living inside it. You have held certain memories so tightly because you feared that releasing them would make the pain meaningless. You feared that letting go would mean approving of what happened or forgetting who you were when it hurt. But release is not denial. Release is saying, this happened, but it will not keep deciding who I am. Release is saying, I can learn from this without worshiping the wound. Release is saying, I can remember without remaining trapped. I want to lead you there. You have waited to feel completely ready before you begin to heal, but healing rarely begins with a dramatic feeling. It begins when you give yourself permission to stop fighting the truth of what happened. It begins when you stop calling the wound your identity. It begins when you let one trusted person know that you are not carrying everything as well as you appear to be. I know why you hesitate. You have been the strong one for a long time. People come to you for encouragement. People expect you to know what to do. People believe you can handle more because you have handled so much before. But strength is not the same as never needing support. The fact that you have carried a great deal does not mean you must carry everything. I am not asking you to collapse beneath your burdens. I am asking you to stop pretending there are no burdens. Bring me the unspoken prayer. Bring me the part of you that is tired of being brave. Bring me the disappointment you keep calling maturity. Bring me the desire you are embarrassed to admit. Bring me the question you fear has no answer. I can hold it. You do not have to make your heart smaller for me. You do not have to hide the messiness of your thoughts. You do not have to turn your grief into gratitude before you are allowed to be comforted. I will meet you where you are. There is a woman in Scripture who had been overlooked, used, and sent away into the wilderness. In the place where she thought no one could see her, she discovered that she was seen by God. Her circumstances did not become easy at once, but she was not invisible in the desert. Remember that when you enter a lonely place. The desert is not proof that no one sees you. The desert can become the place where you finally learn that my attention has never depended on a crowd. You may not have every answer tonight. You may still be waiting for something important. You may still feel the ache of what has not changed. But do not confuse the ache with abandonment. Let the ache become a prayer. Let the prayer become honesty. Let honesty become the beginning of peace. I heard what you never said. I am not intimidated by it. And I am still here. My child, you have spent too much time letting the room define you. You enter a room and notice who is chosen, who is praised, who is invited, who is remembered, who seems to move through life with ease. Then you look at yourself and begin to make quiet conclusions. You conclude that you are behind. You conclude that your gifts do not matter. You conclude that because your name was not mentioned, your life must be less significant. You conclude that what you carry is not worth seeing. But a room can be loud and still fail to recognize what is precious. A crowd can celebrate the obvious and overlook what is deep. A person can have attention and still not have peace. Do not use another person's visibility as evidence of your own invisibility. You do not know the whole story of the people you compare yourself to. You see an answer but not the questions that came before it. You see a celebration but not the cost. You see the part of their life that is visible, while you sit inside every private thought of your own. Comparison makes you unfair to yourself. It asks you to measure your beginning against someone else's middle. It asks you to treat a single difficult season as proof that you have missed your purpose. It asks you to believe that love, opportunity, and meaning are scarce, as if another person being seen means there is less room for you. That is not truth. Stay with me here. You are not required to become a copy of anyone else in order to matter. You do not have to speak like them, move like them, accomplish what they accomplished, or live by their schedule. You were given a life that asks for your particular faithfulness. There are people who need the gentleness you have learned through struggle. There are places where your patience will become a refuge. There are conversations only you can have because of what you have survived and the way you have chosen not to become bitter. You may not see that yet. You may think your life is too ordinary to carry meaning. But meaning does not only arrive in moments that others can post, praise, or measure. Meaning lives in the way you care for a person when no one is watching. Meaning lives in the way you return to integrity after a hard day. Meaning lives in the choice to keep a soft heart in a world that rewards hardness. You have dismissed many of your own gifts because they do not look dramatic. You have said, "I am only listening." You have said, "I am only trying." You have said, "I am only doing what I can." But what you call only may be the place where your life becomes a blessing. Do not become blind to your own contribution, because it does not arrive with noise. You have been looking for proof that you are important, but importance is not the same as being constantly observed. I see the work you do when no one says thank you. I see the restraint it takes when you could choose anger. I see the care you show when you are tired. I see the decision to keep your word, even when it brings no reward. I see the small kindness you almost forgot 5 minutes later. You do not have to make these things larger than they are. You only need to stop calling them nothing. My child, you are not nothing. You are not an afterthought. You are not the leftover part of someone else's story. You are not only the person who helps others shine. You have a place in this world that no one else can occupy in the same way. There have been times when you were treated as though you were replaceable. Perhaps someone left without explaining. Perhaps someone did not protect your heart. Perhaps someone took your care for granted until you began to believe that being needed was all you would ever be. But what another person failed to value does not become worthless. A person can mishandle a gift without changing the value of the gift. Do not allow a careless hand to tell you what you are worth. You have been making yourself smaller to avoid rejection. You have stayed quiet about things that mattered because you did not want to sound demanding. You have minimized your gifts so no one could accuse you of wanting too much. You have waited to be invited because you were afraid to be unwanted. But I want you to take up the space that truth gives you. Not by forcing yourself into every room. Not by demanding attention. Not by pretending you never feel fear. But by refusing to disappear from your own life. Speak when something needs to be said. Rest when your body asks for rest. Ask for what is reasonable. Let your gifts be used. Let your name be attached to the work you have done. Let yourself receive a kind response without doubting it. You are not forgotten because you have been quiet. You are not forgotten because your path has been slower. You are not forgotten because you did not become who someone else expected you to become. You are being called to become who you were made to be. And that takes time. There will be seasons when your work is hidden. There will be days when no one understands the change happening in you. There will be moments when you must choose faithfulness without visible reward. Do not despise those moments. A root grows downward before a branch can rise. A foundation is formed beneath the ground before anyone sees the house. The hidden work is still work. You have been afraid that hidden means forgotten. I tell you again, it does not. Hidden can mean protected. Hidden can mean forming. Hidden can mean you are learning to stand without needing every eye upon you. I do not want you to spend your life begging the world to confirm what I have already placed in you. You have a voice. You have a heart. You have a future that is not canceled by one person's inability to recognize you. Look at your life with gentler eyes. Notice where you have grown. Notice what you have endured without losing your desire to love. Notice the wisdom that is beginning to rise when you face decisions that once made you panic. You are not standing where you started. You may still be walking, but you are walking. And I have not forgotten you along the way. My child, I have not forgotten what you carried into the quiet places. I have not forgotten the dream you stopped describing because people did not understand it. I have not forgotten the hope you began to call unrealistic because it took longer than you expected. I have not forgotten the promise you once held with both hands before life taught you to become careful. Some things became quiet in you not because they died, but because disappointment taught you to protect them. You stopped speaking of certain desires. You stopped praying with the same confidence. You stopped looking too closely at the future because the future began to feel like a place where you could be hurt. I understand why. You did not become guarded without a reason. You did not become tired of hoping for no reason. You did not lower your expectations because you wanted less from life. You lowered them because you were trying to survive another disappointment. But I am not asking you to force yourself into false optimism. I am asking you to let hope become honest again. Hope is not pretending nothing hurts. Hope is not promising yourself every outcome you desire. Hope is the refusal to believe that pain has the final authority over what your life can become. Stay with me because this is important. There are dreams you should release, not because you failed, but because they belong to a version of your life that could no longer hold you well. There are desires you may need to grieve because they were tied to a person, a place, or an expectation that is no longer true. You are allowed to grieve them. You do not need to call every loss a blessing before you have had time to mourn. You do not need to declare that you are over it while your heart is still learning how to let go. But do not confuse grieving one dream with losing the ability to dream. You have been afraid to want anything deeply because you thought wanting would make you vulnerable. Yet you were made with desire. You were made to notice beauty, to long for belonging, to create, to serve, to love, to build, to become. The answer is not to become numb. The answer is to bring your desires into the light. Ask what they are truly reaching for. Sometimes beneath a desire for recognition is a need to know you matter. Sometimes beneath a desire for one particular relationship is a need to be loved safely. Sometimes beneath a desire for a certain future is a need to believe your life has meaning. I care about those deeper things. I am not ignoring them, just because the form of the answer changes. You have been asking why something did not happen. I may not explain every reason, but I can tell you this: what did not happen is not the only thing that can happen for you. Your story did not end at the door that stayed closed. Your worth did not end with the message that was never answered. Your capacity for love did not end with the person who could not meet you. You are still here. There is still good work for your hands. There are still people who can receive the care you have to give. There are still places where your voice will matter. There are still mornings that can carry more peace than the ones you have known. Do not demand that the future repeat the old dream exactly before you allow yourself to believe something beautiful can grow. You have held tightly to a specific picture because it was the only picture you could see. But I see farther than the picture. I see the hunger beneath it. I see the way you need to be received. I see the life in you that longs to be expressed. I have not forgotten that life. I have not forgotten your capacity for joy. You may have forgotten it for a while. You may have become so used to getting through the day that joy began to feel unrealistic. You may have learned to expect disappointment before expecting goodness. But joy is not childish. Joy is not denial. Joy can be a quiet return to yourself. It can be the first moment you laugh without feeling guilty. It can be an afternoon where your mind is not racing. It can be the relief of being with someone who does not make you prove your place. It can be the decision to make something beautiful even when no one is watching. Let joy become possible again in small ways. You do not need to force it. You only need to stop rejecting it before it arrives. You have been carrying an old fear that says, do not get excited, do not trust good news, do not hope too much. That fear believes it is protecting you, but it is also keeping you from receiving what is gentle. I want you to learn a different response. When something good comes, receive it with gratitude, not terror. When a door opens, walk through with wisdom, not shame. When a kind person appears, allow time to reveal their character without assuming you are unworthy of care. When a dream changes, ask what truth remains beneath it. You have not been forgotten. Not the hopes you carry. Not the grief you hide. Not the part of you that wants to come alive again. I have not forgotten what you carried. And I am inviting you to lay it down long enough to see what can grow from it. My child, I am not asking you to become the person you were before the pain. You are not meant to go backward. You have learned too much. You have carried too much. You have become more aware of what you need, what you value, and what you can no longer pretend is healthy. I am calling you forward. Forward does not always look dramatic. Sometimes forward is simply the choice to stop speaking against yourself. Sometimes forward is letting yourself be present in a room instead of assuming you do not belong. Sometimes forward is taking care of your body because you finally believe it deserves care. Sometimes forward is choosing not to reopen a wound just because loneliness makes the familiar seem inviting. Sometimes forward is praying again, even if your prayer is only one honest sentence. Come back to the part of you that is alive. You have spent so long in survival that you may have forgotten what aliveness feels like. Aliveness is not constant excitement. It is not a life with no pain. It is the ability to notice what is good without immediately expecting it to disappear. It is the ability to feel a desire without shaming yourself for having one. It is the ability to rest without needing to justify it. It is the ability to be moved by beauty, laughter, music, kindness, or the morning light. It is the small, steady knowledge that your life is more than what hurt you. Stay with me here. You have been trying to become less sensitive because sensitivity has felt painful. You have thought that if you could just care less, expect less, need less, then nothing could disappoint you again. But numbness is not peace. Numbness is not strength. It may protect you from pain for a moment, but it can also make you unable to receive tenderness when it comes. I do not want your heart to become a locked room. I want it to become wise. Wisdom does not leave every door open. Wisdom does not trust everyone immediately. Wisdom does not deny warning signs. But wisdom also does not decide that all love is dangerous because one love failed. You are allowed to take your time. You are allowed to become discerning. You are allowed to heal slowly. You are allowed to make a life that feels safer, truer, and more peaceful than the one you came from. You do not have to explain every step of that life to people who only knew the old version of you. Some people will not understand why you have changed. Some will prefer the version of you who never asked for anything, never said no, never made them uncomfortable. Let them misunderstand if they must. You are not responsible for preserving an image that is hurting you. You are responsible for becoming honest. That honesty may begin with very ordinary choices. Drink the water. Take the walk. Answer one message from someone safe. Clean the small corner of the room you have avoided. Make the appointment. Write down the thought that keeps returning. Turn off the sound that makes your mind darker. Choose one thing that helps you remember you are still here. These actions do not solve every problem, but they tell your nervous heart that you have not abandoned it. You have been waiting for someone to rescue you from every difficult feeling. I am with you, but I also want to teach you how to care for the life I have entrusted to you. You can become a safe place for yourself. You can learn to respond to your fear with gentleness instead of punishment. You can learn to say, I am struggling today, and I will not use that as evidence that I am failing. You can learn to pause before you return to the habits that make you feel empty. You can learn to ask, what do I need right now that is actually kind? That question can change a day. My child, I have not forgotten you, but I also want you to stop forgetting yourself. Do not lose your own name inside everyone else's demands. Do not lose your own needs inside every crisis. Do not lose your own voice because someone once convinced you it did not matter. You have a life to live. Not a perfect life. A real one. A life where you can grow, receive, give, rest, speak, create, and love with greater freedom. The path may be slow, but you are moving. You are not alone in the movement. And every small return to what is alive in you matters. My child, take a slow breath. You have heard the voice of absence for a long time. It has told you that silence means rejection. It has told you that delays mean you do not matter. It has told you that if no one notices your effort has no value. But that voice does not get to define you. You are not forgotten. You are not an accident in the middle of someone else's story. You are not a burden because you have needs. You are not behind because your path has taken time. You are not invisible to me. I heard what you never said. I heard the prayer beneath the tears. I heard the question beneath your silence. I heard the hope you tried to bury so disappointment could not touch it. And I am still here. Let this be your prayer. God, I have felt forgotten. I have looked at quiet seasons and assumed that you were far away. I have treated other people's absence as proof that I do not matter. I have carried private pain and acted as though I had to carry it alone. Today, help me receive the truth that I am seen. Help me release the need for every person to understand me, before I can believe my story matters. Help me grieve what I need to grieve without making grief my identity. Help me forgive myself for the ways I tried to survive. Help me stop comparing my path to paths that are not mine. Help me recognize the small signs of life that are still around me. Teach me to care for myself with honesty and gentleness. Teach me to receive safe love. Teach me to take the next faithful step without demanding that I see the whole road. And when I feel invisible again, remind me that I am not alone. My child, I hear this prayer. I hear it when you say it with confidence. I hear it when all you can offer is a whisper. I hear it when you are too tired to speak. You do not need to earn my attention. You do not need to become more impressive before I can draw near. You do not need to hide the places where you are still healing. Bring them to me. Bring the unfinished dream. Bring the grief that returns unexpectedly. Bring the need you have tried to minimize. Bring the part of you that is still afraid to hope. I will not shame you for bringing the truth. I will meet you there. I will remain beside you while you learn to trust life and love again. The future may not arrive in the form you imagined, but it is not empty. There are still moments of peace for you. There are still people who can meet you with care. There are still doors that can open. There are still ways for your life to become fuller, truer, and more alive. Do not close your heart because it has been hurt. Do not call yourself forgotten because the answer took time. Do not let a difficult chapter become the only language you use for your future. You are still here. That is not nothing. You are still capable of receiving a new morning. You are still capable of making one honest choice. You are still capable of love. You are still capable of becoming. Let that be enough for today. Rest in the truth that you are known. Walk with the truth that you are not abandoned. And when the old fear returns, answer it gently. I am not forgotten. I am still here. I am still loved. I can take the next step. Tomorrow, let one gentle act become your answer to despair. Open the curtains. Drink water. Speak a truthful word. Rest without explaining it. Reach towards someone safe. Notice one beautiful thing. These small choices are not insignificant. They are signs that you are choosing life, and I am walking with you as you choose it. My child, I have not forgotten you. I will not forget you. Come closer. You are safe to be seen. Amen.